Hi guys, I'm Trevor Newell. I am the current Assistant Operations Manager here at North Texas Television. Today I'm going to be teaching you about our live shots and how to set them up, take them down, and everything you need to know in between. So here we have everything that your kit should have whenever you go out for your live shot. So every single bag should have one XLR cable, one mic, one pair of headphones, 2 batteries, and obviously your P2. As far as your Convex unit goes, this is what we use to connect the live shots to our studios. This is what you should have right here. Typically, you'll see the name of your unit written on the side, so you'll know if we call and ask what unit you have. You just look at that, super basic, and then you should have one tripod as well. Okay, so now let's get to the setup of the camera. So when you first arrive to your location, the first thing you want to grab out is your tripod. Typically, you're going to have these bulky ones. All you have to do is, in order to switch, raise it up, just take these knobs down here, poke it out, and that's how you adjust the leg. So you do that. And typically you're only gonna need to adjust 2 of the switches because these tripods can get pretty tall. Make sure also with these tripods, you wanna make sure that this button right here is pushed in order for the legs to just extend and lock right here. If they aren't pushed in, what your legs are gonna wind up doing is make the tripod flat. And then your arm, just want to tighten it right here, and then there you go. And then make sure your shot is level as well. So on every single tripod, you're going to have a little bubble that you want to look at to make sure that your shot is level. Otherwise, your camera will be slanted and whatnot, and you don't want that. Your pan is right here. You just lock, pan, and all that. Here we go. And nextly, you want to attach your P2 camera to your tripod. So what you want to do is with these, you'll notice on the tripods, there's gonna be little arrows showing you which way the camera needs to go onto the tripod. So all you have to do is align the plate up with the tripod, then slide it, and you should hear a clicking sound. That clicking sound will indicate that the tripod's locked in. It is crucial that you make sure that you hear that sound, otherwise the camera might slip off, and that could be all sorts of issues. Now what you wanna do is once your camera's on your tripod, you wanna come over here and make sure that you lock it. Now, sticking it on the tripod is one thing. This next step is to lock it. That's also just as important. You'll come down here, and as I forgot to mention earlier, that you can, sometimes the center section of the tripod will kind of shift. In order to lock it, all you have to do is come down here and twist it to lock it in place. And that's also how you'll adjust the bubble that I mentioned earlier. Now onto the back side of the camera. All right, and nextly, you're gonna wanna attach your Convex to your camera. And the Convex is what we use, like I mentioned earlier, is what we use to connect your feed to our studio in order for us to broadcast out online and whatnot. All you want to do is take your Convex, it goes on the back of the camera, like so. You want it to make sure that's kind of showing a V right here. That's when you know it's pointed upwards. And you want to align these 3 little, I don't know really what you would call them, but you want to attach them to these grooves right here. In order to do so, all you have to do is line them up, a little off to the left, and then you slide to the right. If I can get it, there we go. And you're gonna hear a little locking sound, or that's when you know it's locked in. What you want to do is take your cell card hub, stick it to the top. What you want to do is make sure that this live shot is pointed towards the back. Stick it in. Again, you're gonna hear it lock. And then each Convex unit should have 3 cell cards. It's very important that you have 3. So when you go out, make sure that you check your equipment to make sure that you have everything, because the thing with the live shot units is if you are missing one item, no matter how small it is, it could affect the shot as a whole, and as a result, we won't be able to connect y'all, and we'd have to kill your live shot. All you have to do is connect it, and here, it doesn't matter the order, but we did find that this blue cell card, usually you want to stick in the middle because it doesn't really fit in the other locations, in the other spots. The other ones, you go right here, we're gonna find it, the other one, back here. Perfect. Now, nextly, you want to connect your SDI cable to your Convex, from your Convex to the camera. Now, this is where a lot of people mess up. They'll put the SDI cable into the wrong location on the either Convex or their camera. As a result, we can see that y'all are trying to connect, but we won't be able to physically connect y'all. So it's very important that when you're plugging up your SDI cable, to plug it into SDI in to SDI out. And it is listed on the side right here. So your SDI in is actually your bottom. So you have an in and an SDI in. Make sure that you plug it into SDI in. So you plug it in right there. And then you push it in, and then make sure whenever you're plugging in the SDI cable, you actually twist it to the right to lock it. You come down here, and then underneath here, you're gonna see an SDI out. It's gonna say SDI out 1. You just plug it in, then you twist to your right. If I can, yeah, sometimes it's a little difficult to get that bottom one in because it's a tight fit. Nextly, battery. You wanna make sure that you take your battery, and actually one thing that I want to mention is whenever you're checking your battery for percentages, how much life you have left, don't rely on the physical camera to tell you how much battery is left. The cameras typically aren't very accurate. When it comes in, it might say that you're really low, but in reality, you might have like 80% on your battery. So in order to check your actual battery percentage, you take your battery, and you're gonna notice that there's a little button with numbers on the side. You got 100%, 80, 60, 40, 20, etc. All you have to do is there's check. You click check, and then it should light up green. And so since it's all green, all the way to 100, obviously you have 100% on your battery. What you want to do is you take it, you bring it up here, and you slide it down. Now be careful, because as you're adding more to the back of the camera, it's getting heavier back there. So if you're not watching a tripod or not watching your camera, after you've put everything on and you've adjusted for the new weight, you might notice that your camera will start to, tilt upwards. So what you want to do is you come over here, and you might have to, that locking mechanism I showed earlier, you're going to have to undo that. Then you might need to slide the plate forward a little bit, if I can feel for it. Here, you go, lock it, and then you might want to adjust your tilt again. And then, now we'll take some playing around with, and make sure when you're adjusting it to not actually take the camera off of the tripod, because it could be bad if, Now nextly, on your live shot, you want to make sure to turn your camera on. Now a lot of people do sometimes, well I say a lot of people, but sometimes people mess this up and they think that if one of them's turned on, the entire unit's turned on, when actually that's not the case. You actually want to you have a physical on button for your camera and a physical on button for your Convex. In order to turn your Convex on, all you have to do is come over here and hold the power button down. You hold it down until your entire thing lights up, and that's how you know it's turned on. Now it usually takes a couple minutes for us to be able to connect you and see you all on our app and connect you to the studio. So as this is happening, just kind of sit by, make sure your shots all centered up on your talent and whatnot. Now nextly, and I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, what you want to do is actually turn your camera on. Now if you come down here, there's a little switch that you turn on, use to power up the button. So you do, flick it, then your screen is going to come on. Now if you want to adjust your screen as need be, you can. If for some reason it's just you, say you're a talent and you're the only one on your live shot, you can flip, it helps to flip your screen around like that so that you can see yourself, know that you're in the shot. Now nextly, once your shot is set up, your talent is framed up and all that good stuff, and your audio is working, you want to make sure to white balance your shot. Now if you don't white balance your shot, you do run the risk of it either being very blue or very yellow depending on where you are, whether you're outside or inside. What you want to do is you come down here and you'll see two switches. You'll see an AWB and an ABB. Now, ABB is your black balance. You don't need to worry about that. What you want to worry about is AWB. In order to white balance your shot, you just flick that switch up. And once you do so, then you may have to do it a couple times for it to work. But once it is, you'll notice that your shot looks crisp and your colors look good. Now, one thing you do want to pay attention to is and this is where a lot of people mess up, is in order to white balance, you actually have to hold something white. Typically, people will hold paper, like a blank white piece of paper, to white balance. Now, where a lot of people go wrong is that they will hold the white piece of paper directly in front of the camera, maybe this far from the lens. You want to be careful of that because that's not how you white balance. What you want to do is you want your talent to actually be where they're going to be standing and talking, and you want them to hold a piece of paper up over there. Because believe it or not, the lighting from right in front of your lens all the way to where your talent is might be different. So what you want to do is your talent will hold their piece of paper, you will zoom all the way into that piece of paper, that blank white piece of paper, and flick your switch up. And you'll zoom out and you'll notice your colors will look a lot better if it works. If it doesn't and it still looks blue, it looks really blue, or looks really yellow, you're gonna have to do it again. You'll just have to keep doing it until it works. Typically it takes about maybe 1 or 2 times, but nextly we'll go on to the lens portion of the live shot camera. Now lastly, you have the lens. Now this lens, obviously if you've dealt anything with cameras before, essentially this camera's the same thing. It's a lot bigger, but the lens does the same thing. You got your focus ring outside of here. You just use this to focus your camera. You have your zoom feature. over here, that's this middle ring, but in order to use it, there's these two buttons back here. If I can push around, you can use this. You notice it'll move it because there's a track on it. You just use this to zoom in and out as need be. You got your iris. Your iris is this ring back here. And then you got your back focus. Typically, you don't really need to mess with the back focus. In scenarios that you may need it to use it is when, say you're out on a shoot and you're trying to focus your subject from where they're standing to your camera, and it's not going to focus for some reason. It still looks blurry. Well, all you have to do is come here, this little back focus ring right here. You untwist this knob and then you just move it as need be. Now I'm not gonna mess with it right now because I don't want to mess any of the settings, mess up the settings on this camera, but that's when you typically use it. And like I said, in the past, not many people really need to use it, but it's good to know in case for some reason you do need to know it. So that's your lens, and then yeah. Now guys, if you do have any questions after watching this video or while you're setting it up, feel free to ask. I mean, that's what we're here for as a staff. Our guys from operations and news, entertainment, we're all here to help you. So if you have any questions, don't feel like you shouldn't be able to ask. We like being asked questions and we want to help you where we can and make you grow and improve yourself. Now, the camera does look kind of daunting at first. I know when I first joined NTTV, it looked very scary. You have all these buttons, switches, lights, all that. But the more you use it, the more you'll find out it's actually not that hard. Whenever you're going in a live shot, a lot of these buttons you don't even need to use. But yeah, thank you for watching and go Mean Green.